Okay. I lost my voice yesterday.
Oh, sorry. What happened?
Actually, by Tuesday night, I had really just completely lost it. And so it was a good thing we had that day off yesterday.
Oh.
It's a little better today, but I have a long day ahead, so we'll see.
All right, we'll make sure that we don't make you talk too much, that it gets worse. We'll be good students today.
Only you and DJ have, there we go. Here we go. Laura and Victoria. Claudia. To do something about the sun. Isa too, if you can do something with your light in the background, there's a lot of sun coming in and we're seeing you very poorly. I think, is there a window back there? There we go. Okay, that's better. Hi, Laura.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm here. I'm alive. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Asatu.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning,
I'm okay. I'll tell you in a minute. Get more people in. Claudia, Yannick are coming in.
Asatu, where are you based?
Where am I? I'm in
Gambia.
Paris.
Oh, I know you're in Paris. I was wondering where Asatu is.
Oh,
I'm in Gambia. Gambia. Yeah.
Okay. Now I see the Gambian face. Now I see it.
Okay. What does that mean?
I don't know. There's a particular face with Gambia, which is
Okay.
distinctive from Senegal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I thought we all look the same, Senegal and Gambia, since we
I think
share
there's some.
everything apart of the French and the English.
No. I think there's really big differences in West Africa. Besides the pearl that look a little bit like the Ethiopian, it's very different. Mhm.
we'll wait a few more minutes. 9:35. In the meantime, for those of you who are here, okay, this is what I have. Victoria, you want to come in at 1 o'clock, right?
It was me, Laura.
Oh, Laura, okay. That's fine. We can do that at 1 o'clock GMT. Did you sign up? Are you signed up there? No, you're not signed up. Okay, so just I'll see if I can add a slot, if I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for the flexibility.
that's fine. Let me see. What can I do this? How can I do this?
Eduardo, I think you also forgot to switch my slots.
Oh, let me see. Okay, so Laura, so you'll be at 1, okay? I'll
Yeah.
put it in the system later. And Victoria, you wanted what did you want?
I wanted an earlier slot, but I don't know. I see it's all full. So because I have one which is at 6:30 p.m. my time.
For the moment, you're at 5:30, right? You're the last one.
Yeah.
The problem is that if I can't put you at, I could put you at 12:30 just after this thing ends.
No,
She
it's
could-
okay. Just leave
she
it
could
there.
take
I'll figure it out.
Eduardo, she could take my 2 o'clock since I'm moving up to 1.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Is that
that will be good. Thank you.
okay. All right. For the rest of it is, let me do that again. The rest of it is fine. Okay, so Laura, 1 o'clock. I said to 1:30, Victoria at 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see, maybe we'll just wait a minute because let's start. You can probably hear that I am it's not a, oh, DJ, hello, how are you? Hi, DJ. Good morning, DJ.
I think he's struggling with sound. Jones, you're on mute.
Good morning, Eduardo. Yeah, I'm struggling with sound here.
Okay, we can hear you. Claudia is here now.
Good morning, and I'm excusing Alexandra. She's on sick leave today. She was sick yesterday and get better.
Okay. DJ, did you want to make any comments at all? Say anything?
No, nothing at all. I'm happy to have you back. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was happy we had a day off yesterday because I completely lost my voice on Tuesday night. I just could not speak at all. And as you can hear, it is still not in great shape. So we'll see what we can do. If you have trouble understanding me, just let me know. So let's go through this process. Okay. So you can see the PowerPoint, I hope. I'm sure. This is lesson 3, presentation and nonverbal communication. And I don't think we need to go through the technology check. I think everybody has booked for those one-on-one meetings. We're only going to go through the session 3 objectives. which you can see, and I'm going to try not to read them just to save myself a little bit. So back to the usual thing. What is the one thing that you can tell us or tell the group that you took away from lesson 2 on Tuesday? Who would like to go first? I'm going to have to be a dictator again, huh? Okay, Aisatu, you were the first in this morning, so why don't we start with you? Can you hear me? Aisatu, can you hear me?
Sorry, I was probably on mute.
I was saying, as we have done every day, what is the one thing or lesson that you learned, message that you got for the second presentation, the one on Tuesday?
For me, I think it was, I mean, the group work we did about the orange and how it was presented. I think with the 3 key things that we did about the in our group, which was about the health benefits of the apple, how we presented for the buyers, and
so it was the linguistic mechanisms, the use
the
of
linguistic mechanism. Yes, that's
in
the 3 linguistic
presentation.
mechanisms. Yes.
Okay.
That's a takeaway from me. Over.
Okay, Laura.
Sure, I think for me, it's a bit what Aisatu said, but in the sense that, you know, storytelling is something really, really big, but and something that I really like doing, but going through the linguistic mechanism allowed me to understand when it's the right time to use numbers, you know, perhaps when is the right time to draw a story, just kind of breaking it down, and also how important it is to prepare for a speech before you go live. Over.
Okay. Thank you. Claudia.
I think for me, the thing I also used in the last public speaking engagement that I had was really making numbers more tangible. So having like catchy comparisons. And I agree with Laura, it actually requires quite some preparation to have that, because you wouldn't have that naturally.
Okay. Victoria.
For me, I would say both the linguistic mechanisms and also behavioral techniques, particularly when looking at how these 2 styles would contribute to perhaps persuading an audience, passing a message effectively, but also having that effect of persuasion. That was really unique for me. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, Janik. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Yes, for me, just like the others, I think it's going to be just the whole component of mechanisms as a whole. So for me personally, I always tend to use, especially during public engagements or events where I have to speak, I use numbers a lot, as well as storytelling and comparison. So really seeing how all of them can be interconnected and how they can be used more effectively was one of the most enriching parts of the last lecture. So really gained a better understanding, and of course going a little bit deeper into the behavior techniques with regards to the public engagement and really maintaining the focus and not really to really be able to convey the message. So that was that part for me, of course, in addition to the breakout rooms and the discussions as well, to really apply the mechanisms. Over and out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So today we are going to go through linguistics and behavior. And that is assignment 3A. So I hope you have all downloaded that assignment 3A that you will be going over with me this afternoon. And this time, what I would like, if it's at all possible, and it will be a great help to you because that means you will have less work to do for tomorrow, is if you could come with slides or graphs, charts, whatever that you plan to use in your PowerPoint presentation. Again, there is a Zoom tutorial on presenting PowerPoint on Zoom, and you should also come with your themes, your keywords, and then the stories, ideas, and that we have in the in that assignment. Let me just see if I can share that assignment again with you, just to show it to you. Where are we? Well, I'll do it. I'll do it a little bit later. Jam has just come in. Okay, are there any questions at all on that assignment? Does anybody, is it clear for the one-on-one this afternoon?
I was just wondering about assignment 3A, where I could download it, unless I already have it, because I went through the portal and couldn't find the third
I had the same issue as well. Could not find the 3A assignment.
It should be with the rest of it. One of the things is that it's very small when you go down on the LMI. It's very small. If you look for it, if you click on it, you'll get it. Can you hear me? We have now the construction work has now begun again.
We hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
Okay. It's really loud where I am.
Yeah, I have to admit that I'm okay.
Is that clear on that on downloading it? Hold on. Let me see if I can. We should be. So let's see if I can share again.
I think I managed to download it. It's just that it's a bit like Eduardo said, it's a bit tiny when you go down. You will almost miss it because I missed it and I had to go back.
Right. It's as you go down, where you have, it's the same where you have the booking for the practicals and all of that. As you go down, you will see, for example, assignment 2A, assignment 3A. You should see it there, but it's very small. It's very small. It's a little box.
Yes, when you click on the box and get inside the assignment, it asks for you to submit. There's no download a document or download the file or anything like that.
On the, Laura, I think yes, but you can go back. It's not clear where it is, but it's before you go on the submit or download, it's a bit tiny in the.
It's a bit tiny.
It's tiny. We will, when you look at it, okay, let me tell you where exactly it is.
Let me show
Yeah,
you.
it's
when
it's a
have
small box on the left.
a small box, when you have assignment 3 in at the
Yes,
top,
I clicked.
after
box.
that, did you see now? Once complete, can you see that sentence? Once
Ah,
complete, or upload or submit. Did you see that line?
I see it now.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I see it. I was about to get real frustrated. Okay, it's right there.
Okay.
That's where it is. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? We're okay. Put this up. So nonverbal communication. Again, we saw this before. We've seen it before. You see nonverbal communication, 55% of what of when somebody is communicating, that makes up 55% of what people are going to get from your communication, as compared to only 7% of words, which is really quite incredible when you think about it. So I want to quickly go through some of the tools that you can use in making presentations. And if you are making a presentation, even in person and using PowerPoint, you can still use flip charts. I've done that a lot of times, where you find that there, for one reason or another, the PowerPoint isn't going to do it. Maybe in answering a question or something like that, you can use flip charts or whiteboards, and you should have them. You should have them around. It's always good to ask the organizers of a conference, could I have a whiteboard? Could I have a flip chart? As well as the use of props. Here is our famous dollar prop used by Ronald Reagan in his presentation. Remember that? He literally took the dollar out of his pocket. So props can be very, very helpful. Now, on PowerPoint or Keynote, the problem with PowerPoint is that nobody knows how to use it, essentially. Very few people know how to use it. And there is a story of the United States commander in Afghanistan at the time when the United States had tens of thousands of troops there. He arrives and they're going to give him a presentation to show him where the troops are and where the battle situation stood. And this young officer was given the task of making the presentation, and he put up a map of Afghanistan, and that map was filled with arrows coming in and coming out. It was filled with little drawings of airplanes and tanks and bases and all of that. And the general listened very carefully to this presentation. And at the end of the presentation, he said, "We have met the enemy, and it is PowerPoint." Because most slides are much too complicated. They're filled with information that the person then presenting the information goes on to read. And as I think I may have said to you, you should look at PowerPoint as television and the presenter as radio. And you should not use, if both are emitting at the same time, then nobody understands anything. PowerPoint is only there to help you in the presentation, but unfortunately, most of the time it takes over. Most of the time it takes over, and it should not be used as a script. You are there because hopefully you have a lot of added value, and and you are to give that added value, giving using the key points that are in the PowerPoint, but you are the one that is actually giving the presentation. And you can do what I just did, and good presenters do. Don't be afraid to turn off PowerPoint, even if you're in doing this in person. If you've shown the slide you want to show, but you want to add a lot of additional information, just turn it off. But the worst possible thing is to have a slide where you just have lines and lines of text that people are going to try to read, but they're not going to be able to because they don't have time, and because you are speaking over all of that text. So it just leads to tremendous confusion, and it's just too much. It's too much to handle, and that's something that you've got to always be conscious of. How much can the audience handle? You have to give them some breathing spaces as well. So we're going to see this very clearly a little bit later on in this presentation. So the use of subtle transitions and animations. Use builds. We will see that how you can build on a particular story and a particular point by using slides to build your argument. So remember, PowerPoint is visual, so you've got to think visually. Those slides are there to communicate something. We saw this yesterday. And you can insert video into the slide deck and hyperlink. I think this is particularly effective. I think it's particularly, we saw this with Martin Luther King, and then we saw this also with the excerpt from Yes Minister, on how you can get people to agree with you by using a certain argument line. I think that using videos and presentations is a really good idea. It brings in a new voice. It changes the pace. People like it. So I would encourage you to use videos, not to overdo it, but to use them. Same thing with a remote clicker. Will allow you to move around. You don't have to be next to the machine. It allows you to move around the room. It allows you to leave the podium, which you should do as much as possible. So the little clicker to change the slides is very, very important. It's just this little thing. And again, if you don't have one, ask people arranging the conference to see if they have one. Also, plain fonts, as this says. We are a Fortune 500 company, not a lemonade stand. Okay, so it's not, plain fonts are much more serious. If we're doing serious presentations. So now here's an example that I had spoken about in terms of the use of building an argument through the slides. So you see, big, bold, and bright. We are currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist. Now, this is all part of the same presentation. So 40 exabytes. Now, personally, and not being a high technology individual, I have absolutely no idea what that is. I imagine it's a lot. I imagine it's obviously in the context, it's an awful lot, but I have no idea what it is. You can say 10 exabytes or 80 exabytes, and it would be pretty much the same to me, frankly. So, but here, now we're using one of those linguistic mechanisms that we had spoken about. Unique new information will be generated worldwide this year. That is more than in the previous 5,000 years. So this, if you remember the linguistic mechanisms, the water, the 400,000 liters of water, if you remember that example, which was broken down into, what was it, 20 liters per day per household, something like that. So this, again, this is, make it understandable. So technical information is doubling every 2 years. Half of what they learn in their first year of study will be outdated by the end of their studies. That's pretty dramatic information, isn't it? That's pretty dramatic information. Does anybody have any any questions, any comments? And again, show you again, you see big, bold, and bright. All of this stuff, you see, so easy to see this. So easy for the audience. And this gives you the opportunity, if you want to elaborate on any of these things. I don't know, in this case, the presentation might be about how higher education can handle this kind of a situation, what needs to be done. You can elaborate on it, and they will be paying attention to you. Okay, Victoria has her hand up.
I have a question on the slide where we have the 40 exabytes, yeah? So in a situation where you have to communicate such information and there's really no other way to simplify it, what's the option? For instance, when making a technical presentation and there's just no other way to simplify or dumb it down for the audience.
The option is to, well, you should be able to, I mean, one of the jobs of, certainly of journalists, but also of anybody who is presenting or writing, is to make very complex information understandable, immediately understandable. Now, a lot of it will depend on your audience. You may have a highly technical audience that will understand technical material, but you should be able to at least to a certain extent, dumb down, as you say, the presentation. And then what you can do is, which I believe I mentioned, if you really believe that they need to know, to have whole sets of statistics, graphs and charts, which is very possible, then you print those out. Or you prepare those, and you give it to them, either in paper or through electronically. But never do this before you make the presentation. Never. That is you are dead in the water if you give them this information before you make the presentation. But can anybody tell me why?
They won't listen?
They won't listen. And I've seen this I don't know how many times where when I have done presentations where I actually give out a lot of additional information, most of it in the form of articles that I think are interesting for people to read, connected to the subject, articles or whatever it might be. And I've asked organizers, please do not give these out before. And when they have done so, that's the end of it. People will just read the information. They will not listen to you. But you can certainly give out complex information that they can go back to later. That will go further in what you have presented and what you have done. But I insist, that difficult as it may sometimes be, you should be able to give them, be clear and concise and precise in your presentation. In the slides we just saw, for example, I imagine that there are certain things that you can really expand on that are not on the slides, but that you can expand in the presentation. And then you can give them additional information. I always think it's good actually to do that, to give them more information that they can refer to later. Does that pretty much answer it, Victoria?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I think at WFP, I don't know if Claudia, sorry, I skipped you. At WFP, we have high dependency on PowerPoint. You will see that, I mean, in our organization, even from executive level all the way down to, you know, the very bottom, it's very much all about PowerPoint. As the person that prepares the PowerPoints, I try my best to keep it as simple as possible, bring in pictures and things that people will like to make it less about words. But at the same time, I think it is such a norm now, and people find it difficult to step away from PowerPoint. So you find yourself more working on the presentation, the design, than actually the PowerPoint itself. I guess this is a comment and also would love your advice over.
Well, you know, one of the things that I find very useful is when you do have, and I do this all the time, when you have, for example, 4 or 5 points you want to make, and you've written them in hopefully relatively brief sentences, you show them one at a time. You know, through the animation function, you can do that. You show them one at a time. If you show them all at a time and you have a screen full of words, people are just going to go and read those words. They're not going to read them. They're going to try to read them, but will not be able to unless you just keep quiet for, 5 minutes. And what's the point of doing that? So one at a time is a good mechanism, I believe. There was a professor who studied this. He came up with I forget his name. The rule is no more than 7 words to a line, no more than seven lines to a slide. But the 7 lines to the slide, I don't think you should show them all at once. Really need to keep this as simple as possible. And again, very, very few people do it. Very few people do it. So data is also something that is very dangerous in a way. Don't throw numbers. Again, if you really feel you must put out a great amount of that data, you can do that separately after the event. You can ask researchers now, if you have them, people who are specialists or professionals at this, at providing you with slides that will, in a very visually and clear manner, give you the data that you might need. Here are some examples. For example, that it, there's a lot of data here, but it's relatively understandable. Pneumonia is the number 1 killer among the leading infectious diseases. I might be one of those in a couple of hours. 16% of all deaths under 5 years old are due to pneumonia. Then you've got diarrhea, syphilis, malaria. Obviously, this would be a much bigger little image on your screen. Same here. A screen that can filled with this. In France, we call it the famous French cheese from Normandy that's always round. What's the name of it? Of course, I forget now. That's what we call these graphs. So just an example of what you can do. Here is data used by the World Food Program. This is a flyer of a few years ago. I feel that it's much too busy. There's too much stuff in here. That's what I feel. I would probably not be done quite this way today, but it has some good stuff. It has some good stuff on it. For example, in terms of what you transport, 5,868 metric tons. Again, that doesn't mean very much to me, but when you tell me that it's the equivalent of 1,065 elephants, the weight of 1,065 elephants, that begins to mean a lot more to me. Again, that use of that linguistic mechanism of this kind of comparison, operation of you transport 2,087,106 passengers. So I think the idea here is a good idea, but I think that it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit too busy. I think it's a little bit too much for the audience. So this could probably be cut down into several slides. I would think, or either that or laid out differently on the screen or on the page. So now we want to, what do we want to do here? So just some nuts and bolts on presentations again, which really are quite important. One of them being the background. What does your background say? It's very important, because if your background is saying the opposite of what your message is, then there's going to be confusion. And that does happen, actually. It happens more than you think. If you are speaking about a tragedy or an accident or a natural disaster, and you have a nice, I don't know, pastoral scene behind you, that just doesn't go along with the message that you're trying to put out. So background is very important, and something that you really do need to pay attention to, because it is part of the message. It is part of the message. The lighting, again, backlighting and uplighting is going to make it so that people don't see you clearly. So lighting should be subtle or natural. The audio is also important to try to remove background noise as much as you can, although now the technology seems to be pretty good, because I can tell you I have massive noise from this renovation work that is going on just a few meters from me, yet you're not listening to it. And I'm not using anything sophisticated in terms of a mic. So, but it's something to keep in mind. And also, if you are in a conference, as we are right now, and somebody calls you on the phone and you have to take that call, which is understandable, think about muting. Muting is very important as well. And then the camera, again, very important. We all know where that camera is, yet a lot of times we don't look into it, including me. My camera is right here. And what you need to do when you're speaking is to look into the camera. Now, sometimes I write things, sometimes I have notes, so I'm not doing that all the time, but make sure you look into the camera as much as you can, because that has the effect of giving the audience the impression, every person in that audience, that you are speaking to him or her. And the I don't know if you've heard of television presenters who are very good. Critics will sometimes say, there's something in the eyes, or there's something that makes that presenter really make it seem as though they are speaking to each and every individual, even though there may be millions of people watching. And the trick to that, which we can't really do on computers, is that they look very, very, very deeply into the lens of the camera. Sometimes they say it's almost like you're making love to the camera, looking really into that lens as much as you can. And that gives the effect of the person being in the room speaking only to you. And finally, on this issue, and again, it's something we all do. We don't pay attention to where how that camera is positioned, so that you may be seeing very little of the person and a lot of the ceiling, or you may be seeing only half of the face or whatever. So you try to make sure that you are at the center, and that camera is well positioned. Now, all of these things seem like, kind of minutia and nonsense, but I can tell you they have a huge effect on whether people are going to listen to you or not. Now, I may be particularly sensitive to it, I don't know, but I have a very hard time listening to someone if that camera is not placed correctly. I have a very hard time even with the slightest background noise from another conversation, for example. So it's just part of being a professional, of making sure that all of those little technical issues are really being taken care of, because it really is it really is important. And people make a lot of subconscious judgments, and they're constantly judging your level of professionalism, and all of these little things go into that judgment. If you can't get your background correct or your camera angle correct, then to me, you're taking away credibility. Any comments on that? No? Okay. We're going to go into body language now. This is a difficult one on video, but Jem has developed a pretty good system here to show you a little bit how to read body language, which is so important. We saw 55% of what people get, they get through non-verbal communication. And what your body language says is probably closer to the truth, quote unquote, than what your words say. You can be saying something and your body's going to be saying something else, and people are going to believe the body more than the words. Your body can accompany you in what you're saying if you let it. If you are secure in what you're saying, if you know what you're talking about, your body will accompany you. And if the opposite is the case, then your body will be a traitor to what you are saying. So in the world of acting, you know, or in the artistic world, everybody pretty much has an instrument. You know, the musician has the musical instruments, the painter has the brush, the sculptor has the chisel, and the actor has as the instrument his or her body. That is the instrument of the actor. And when you present, you should consider yourself to be actors, because that's what you are. And people are judging you on how you are handling yourself, how you are handling your body, what kind of control you have. Believe me, they will be judging that from the first second that you step on stage. Before you say a single word, they will be judging you on that. So, this is another way of saying it. It's a faithful reflection of emotions. The gestures, the voice do not lie. People don't trust insecure people, and this insecurity is largely seen through non-verbal language. The more you prepare, of course, the more you know your subject, the more secure you will be. The more practice you have in front of people, the more secure you will be. So if you're doing this in person, make sure you have a good entrance. One thing to do is to look at the room before the meeting starts. What kind of a room is it? How big is it? Does it have a balcony? Look at the stage. How big is the stage? Yeah. And then make a good entrance, because you know where you're going. You've seen it. You make a secure entrance. Normally, go to the center, look around, smile. Make an initial contact with your audience. Again, how you handle yourself is going to speak volumes about what people are going to, those first few seconds, the impression that you're going to give, how people are going to think about you. Is this somebody who knows what they're talking about? This means, again, smiling, looking, not staring, but looking, smiling, reading people. First emotional bond with the audience. And then, of course, you have to explain it with enthusiasm. Again, it's easy to go over the top. You've got to find that middle ground where you're enthusiastic, but it's not too much. That where you speak at a pace that is neither too slow or nor too fast. Although, as we will see, you should change the pace of what you are saying, depending on what it is that you are saying. Let your hands free, especially when you're sitting down. Be as free as possible, both of your hands, your legs, so that they don't block you, so that they don't block the emotion, so that they don't block your words. Very bad idea to sit with your legs crossed, for example, if you're being interviewed on television, or if you're participating in a panel discussion where everybody is sitting. And again, speak in a way that people think you're speaking directly to him or to her. When you are asked a question by someone, and look at that question and answer looking at the question, but don't stare. You can then look at another part of the room or someone else, and then go back perhaps to that person who looked at the who asked the question. I want to say something about this fourth one. Don't look at the ceiling, floor, or outside the room. One of the very worst things that you can do on television, but also on a presentation like this, or even in a presentation where you are present, where there's an audience is there and you are there and physically. One of the worst things you can do, don't look up, don't look down, but the worst thing is so I'm talking to you now. I'm telling you that this is a very important point, and that you really have to be very careful. What impression are you getting? Are you getting some sort of an impression when I do that? I'm looking to my side, even very quickly. I'm looking to my side. Does that?
That you're not confident enough in what you're saying, perhaps, or that you may not be comfortable in within your own material.
Yes, there's not confident is definitely one. On the material, not necessarily. You can be very confident about your material, but there's another thing that happens, and that is that you are giving the impression, even if it's not true, that you are speaking under control, and that you're just checking, because Jem is right here in the same room with me. He's off camera, but he's here in the room, and I'm checking to make sure that I'm doing okay. So I'm speaking under control. And there was a great comic sketch of a Russian television presenter reading the news, and you saw from the right side, you see an arm with a guy holding a gun that you see, and basically saying one wrong word and you're dead. So you're speaking under control. So it's something to really avoid, not to look. You can look down for a few seconds, look up, move around, but not going up and down, whether it's on video or in person. And finally, avoiding turning your back on the public. Okay, everybody okay? So now we're going to talk about primitive urges that we have as humans, the human species. What does this mean, the shaking of the head, when somebody shakes the head?
That they are not satisfied.
Yes, that they
Or
are
in this-
not satisfied, that they don't agree, or that it's something they just heard something like, oh my God, this is incredible. When you do that, opening of the arms would indicate that you are open to what you're listening to what you're hearing, that you want that you're accepting what you're hearing. Clasping of the head, you know, the clasping of the head you see very frequently and very automatically when people go like this. Oh, where do you see this a lot? Oh, where do you see that a lot? It's very automatic. People don't even know they're doing it.
Football games and stuff.
Exactly. Sporting events, and your team just missed that goal. Oh, and that's a very obvious one, but there are a lot of them, a lot of those primitive innate urges. Smiling is great. It doesn't really come that naturally to a lot of people, but smiling will frequently disarm your audience. So now, for a few minutes, we're going to go through a series of positions that indicate that the body is saying something. Now, before I start, and at the end of it, I will repeat. These are signals that are being given, but they have to be in a context, and it's better to have 2 or 3 signals from the same individual before you come to a conclusion. Okay, it's not just one signal could be the result of different circumstances. The most obvious one is the crossing of your arms like that. Now, that is a signal that is frequently, almost always interpreted as rejection, protection, defense. I'm in a defensive position. I'm protecting myself. I'm not very happy with what I'm hearing from you. Yes, that's right. But it could also mean that you are in a very cold room and that you are just instinctively trying to keep warm. So be careful on the interpretation of these things, because everything is not black or white. So this is a neutral position for men. No comment. I'm okay. You're telling me this stuff. I'm here. I'm listening. I haven't come to any kind of a conclusion about it yet. Here I'm showing my dominance. I'm showing, don't, be careful with me. I dominate here. This one, if you look at the leg, at the right leg, for me, moving away, is again frequently used. Don't even realize we use it. And basically, I'm at a cocktail party and I'm listening to you. We're both standing, and I want to get out of there. I've had it. I want to go see somebody else. Or I don't know, maybe I just want to go to the bathroom. I don't know, but I need to get out of that. Here again, look at those legs. Reticence position. I'm not really into what you are saying. I'm not really agreeing with you. Very hard for men. Very, very hard for men to do this, if not impossible, really. But for women is okay. I'm staying, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about what you're telling me. So now we go to sitting. Again, legs crossed, listening. Hands are, one is on a knee, the other one is on the side. I don't really have much to say for the moment. Here, it's much more defensive in a way. I'm getting negative vibes from you. It's a little bit of a defensive position if you look at those legs as well. Those legs are kind of in a bit of a defensive position, I think. The arms and hands are not, but I'm not really happy with what I'm getting. Okay. You and I are waiting to go in for a job interview. And we're competing. It's going to be you or me, not both. So again, I'm being careful. I'm not really trusting you.
Sorry, can you go back? I couldn't see the difference between the competitive clamp and the no comment. Just if you can toggle the pictures. So
There
it's
you go.
because he holds his feet.
This is the competitive clamp in the sense that I am. If you see the vibe that's coming out of it is, I'm looking at you. I'm not really open to you, right? Those legs are not open to like they were in other photographs.
Can you show the photograph before just to remember as a reminder? So sorry, but it's
no problem. Hold on, let me see.
okay. And the first one. So this is more open than the other one.
Yeah, this is more neutral, I would say. I wouldn't say open. I would say this is more neutral. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you, especially with those arms. But you know, I'm not going to commit. I'm not committing, but I am listening. Here, I'm just not happy with what I'm getting, and I think that's more showed through the legs. It's not aggressive though. There's no aggressivity here. Here, it's more, I don't think it's aggressive either. I just think we're not friends here. We're not at a social event. We're not making conversation. We're kind of observing each other and kind of a little bit of a protective mode, a little bit. Okay, the female, those legs are not, those legs are indicating that not that comfortable here. Not that comfortable. I'm kind of shy here. Okay, this is pretty clear. But again, maybe this guy, although his face doesn't indicate that, but maybe this guy is just cold. I mean, physically cold in the room. Or maybe he's in a defensive negative position. You know, I'm protecting myself. Don't come too close. You know, stay away. I'm not. This is a position that I think is a good position to use when you first come out on stage. If you come out on a big stage, make sure those arms are open. This is a welcoming. You know, we're here together. I'm glad we're here. Make sure those arms are open. I have nothing to hide. I'm here to participate with you. Whereas this is, I'm not here to participate. I'm not here to hear you out, to listen to you. I'm protecting myself. I don't feel well here. I'm not in a good place. See, this is, I think, very alpha male, don't you think? Kind of alpha male here. Okay. playing around with your button, insecure twiddling. Very careful with this. That comes out in many ways. Touching of the this, or straining of the tie. Comes out in twitches also. Making noise, women playing with their earrings, banging with the pen. All of these things. If you're sitting down, tapping with your foot, or your knees moving. If your legs are crossed, you're sitting down, your knees are moving, or you're tapping on a knee with your hand. All of those are signs that you are insecure, you're not comfortable, you may not be sure about what you're saying, may not be prepared. Let's go back to that if we can. There we go. He's playing with his shirt button. Okay. Now suppose somebody asks you a question. You're standing on a stage. You stretch out your arm with the palm of your hand is open. You're amenable to the person. You are telling that person, oh yes, what is your question? Tell me your question. I want to know. I'm glad you're asking me. Kind of like a traffic cop, right? A little bit. That's enough already, okay? Now, some of these may not be that obvious in real life, but they do exist. So here are our very famous, the monkey signs. Somebody starts touching their head, rubbing their face. That means that you are not sure of yourself. Any of the touching of the head. There you go. Fiddling with the ear. Now this is this you see a lot when there's doubt. People doubt. They will scratch the back of their head, the neck, or their head sometimes. Here the person is thinking. You know Rodin's famous statue, the thinker. When you're considering something, it's very automatic movement. Oh, okay, let me think about that. Yeah, let me think about that. I see. Okay, I see what you're. I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. When is this going to be over? When is this guy going to stop showing us these photographs and let us have a break? When is he going to do that? My God, what a bore this is. So, as I said at the beginning of this little section, there has to be more than one signal, right? So there has to be a cluster of signals. There has to be a congruency of signals. The signals have to be saying the same thing. In order for you to be able to come to a reasonable conclusion about what that person is trying to tell you. And it has to be in a context. Again, the arms crossed has to be in a context. Maybe this is freezing to death here. And that's why his arms are crossed and he's just trying to keep warm and he's protecting yourself. So don't go around saying, oh, look at his legs are crossed this way. Oh my God. Eye contact, and this is obviously more for personal meeting where you're in person. Sweep the crowd. Don't light house. By light, you know what a lighthouse does? It goes from right to left or left to right, goes around and around all the time. So you can sweep the crowd, but don't lighthouse. Don't be as in a lighthouse. So I can, for example, look over. This is in person. I'm going to look over there. I'm going to go back to the center. I'm going to look over here, but I'm not. And now, with the use of teleprompter, you know, the teleprompters that where politicians can read the speech without having paper in front of them, because they've got these mirrors up there, one on the left, one on the right, and one in the center, but usually the left and the right are the most important ones. And they fall into the trap of they'll go da 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 da, and that causes a very bad effect, and that's kind of housing. But you can sweep the crowd, but do it naturally. Do it naturally. Okay, you can glance at your script if you want from time to time. I want to say something about the script for a minute. Reading from a script is one of the worst things you can possibly do. So the one solution to that is, I have this card here. It's a little bit big. I don't have a, the right size for a card would be a little bit bigger than this. You can find these cards. And on these cards, you're going to write keywords. You might actually even highlight some keywords of your themes. You might write a little word to remind you of something. For example, if you have a very hard time smiling and you come to a part of the speech where a smile might be legitimate, draw a little funny face, literally, just little key words that you have. And then you have your cards in the palm of your hand. There is no attempt to hide these. We're not trying to hide anything. Everybody, here are my cards. And you walk around and you don't hide the fact that you might look at your card. You've just said something. Now you're going to go to the next point. Oh, what's that next point? You have a key word. You look at that key word, if you've prepared, should set you off for your next point. Write on only one side of the card. Very important. This prevents shuffling, turning cards around. You can then take one card that you have in your hand and you just move it to the back. You have the next card. So you number each card. The card where you have written, you put a number 1 on top, and on the back, you put a big number 1. Big number 1. There's nothing on the back of the card except the number of the card. Why would we do that? So the keywords on one side, little instructions to yourself, and a number that, you know, not very big, but you can easily see it. And on the back of the card, big number on the back of the card. They're not going to be seeing the back of the card normally because it's going to be hidden by you. And when you're done with this card, when you're done with this card, you're just going to And there's your second card, right? And there's your third card. So why do you have this big number on the back?
Perhaps to distinguish so that you don't get confused with the cards that you're working with.
Well, that would be the small number on the card that you've written. I don't know if you can see it. See, I just written here. I've written number 1. Okay. But here I've written a big number. There's nothing here. Just pretend that's not here. Why is that?
So
It's
that
very important.
you don't lose focus. You don't lose focus with your speech. You have number 1, and then in case it gets all messed up, you have.
How can it get messed up?
Perhaps if you're getting nervous and you're flipping through the cards very quickly, maybe you will shuffle the wrong.
And what happens? And what happens?
And then you start speaking about a topic. You start going ahead and speaking of the topic and missing some of the points, or skipping through really quickly. So
that's another problem. You drop the cards, you drop them. You have
yes.
7 or 8 cards, you just drop them on the floor.
Yeah.
So very calmly, this happens. You lean down, you pick them up, and then you can put them back in order very easily.
Yeah.
And also, since it's only written on one side, not going on. All you have to do is look at the numbers. Same thing if you're doing a speech, and you have a paper only on one side of the paper. If you're recording something and you actually are going to read it because it's just a recording, you're going to avoid flipping over pages. You're just going to have the pages right there. No flipping, no touching. It's all makes it so much easier. It takes away so much stress. If you are flailing around with these cards because you've dropped them and you're trying to put them back together, it's going to disturb you. Unless you're a real, have massive experience. What we call the business gaze. Don't look into the eyes, but around the eyes. Don't make people nervous. Don't stare at people or groups of people. They're going to become very, very nervous and might have not such a great reaction. Yes, Victoria. Victoria?
So back, yes, back to the cards. Sometimes when making a PowerPoint presentation, some people, yes, will have cards. Others will perhaps have notes, maybe on a printout. Others will have, especially when presenting directly from one's laptop, they'll have, the presentation mode where everybody sees the main screen, but from your end, you can also see a small side with like explanatory notes. Is there a preference in terms of what method to use, especially if one has to perhaps work, make a presentation that has been centrally shared and you're not controlling the slides on your end? Because my experience is sometimes when you use notes, somebody might think that you're not prepared. Sometimes when you have cards and you perhaps keep making reference to them, someone might think you're not so familiar with your contents. So is there one particular style that is perhaps preferred?
Well, the advantage of the cards, which is low tech, is that it just gives you so much more freedom. If you are making the presentation, you should be controlling the slides. You should be the one controlling those slides. And if you have the clicker that I talked about, you can move. You can move around on the stage. You're not behind the podium. You're moving around. You're getting closer to the audience, or you're pulling back for them. You're moving from one side of the audience to the other. And the cards then will be your guidepost, rather than if you have, as you say, the slide that is being shown to the audience, but then on the side you have notes or the next slide. That's kind of forcing you to be near that computer. You want to be as free as you can possibly be with your body, with your voice, with your movements, and the cards will do that. And nobody's going to say, oh, this person is not professional. They don't know what they're saying. They need to look at their cards, because it's going to be very obvious that you don't. You're not reading from the cards. It's going to be very obvious. And if you've made the presentation several times, you may refer to them only from time to time. Just switch them around. You're talking to the audience, or you look like that. You're not reading from them. They're not a crutch. They're just. So I think it's much better to do it that way than to be forced into constantly be going to the computer to look at notes or to look at your keywords or key points. Again, I said this before, I just said it before the question, but very important, don't make people uncomfortable. If somebody asks a question, obviously you look at them, you start answering the question, you look at them, then look at somebody else. You can come back to them. Don't make people uncomfortable. Okay.
I have a question on that. I don't find my hand raising anymore. I don't know where it went.
Okay.
Sorry that I'm jumping in all the time. Don't make people feel uncomfortable. Like, I feel sometimes we have the issue we're presenting to our room, so physically, and some people are not paying attention. So they're either on their laptop or they're chatting with other people or doing other things. So in those cases, you maybe do want to make them feel uncomfortable because you want to call them out a bit on their behavior. So how do you see that?
Yeah, that's another type of making them feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't do that. I think the best way to handle that, unless it's an extreme case, is just simply to ignore it, and eventually it will pass. Even from time to time, other members of the audience who are near them will tell them, please, I'm trying to listen. I think it's better to let it go rather than making people really uncomfortable and acting like you're some sort of a policeman. I think most people in professional situations are relatively well educated, are relatively polite. Somebody may make a comment to somebody else, but eventually, a lot of times, if I'm sitting next to someone who is constantly speaking to me, that means they know me. So I maybe feel more comfortable to say, okay, let's talk about that later. Let me listen. I really want to hear what she's saying. I would not, you're not a teacher in a classroom with students where you do have or should have a disciplinary function as well. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now this one is important. We're going to do a little exercise. And it's the voice, so important. Some people have wonderful voices, what we call radio voices. Other people have terrible voices. There's not much you can do about that, but if you have a good voice, that is a fabulous advantage. So there's something called laser: loudness, articulation, speed, emphasis, and the range of your voice. These can be worked on. Speed is a very important one. Sometimes people have a tendency to speak much too quickly. And if you are dealing with a complicated subject, again, think of the audience. It's much too fast. They feel aggressed. It's too much stuff is coming onto them. So you've got to, if you have that problem, and you know that you do, whether it's publicly or privately, make sure that you are aware of that and that you can slow down. The loudness should be in relationship to the size of the room where you are speaking. Do you or do you not have a microphone? Some people have problems with articulation or with certain words that you can work on articulating those words. Emphasis is very important because it makes it so much interesting. It's not a monotone. You've got this range of emphasizing certain words, putting emphasis on words or phrases that you think are particularly important. And then the range is, in a way, the combination of all of this. But this comes only through practice. So you have to know where you have problems in this. Is it, do I speak too loudly? Do I speak too softly? Do I go too fast? Am I giving them enough breathing room? My audience, am I pausing a little bit from time to time? A few seconds here, a few seconds there. Am I speaking in a monotone? All of these things. It's, it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of practice, and we can't really just do it in one session over a few minutes. Let me see, I have a message here from Laura. I have to reiterate what Claudia says because this is a constant and major issue that the audience is often not fully with you when you're presenting. This can also be to the workload or a major challenge. Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about not making them uncomfortable. If people look at their phones, if somebody's looking at their phone, well, I don't think you can just say, stop looking at your phone. I think that's counterproductive. Let the problem try to fix itself. They may have a very good reason to look at their phone as well. That does happen. And somebody else put in the chat, I think everybody said, a TED Talk, a lot of these topics on how to speak. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. I haven't seen that. Thank you for that. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. We're going to do a voice exercise. This is a poem that I am going to let you read for a minute, okay? I would like 4 volunteers, one of them to read, as it says, as you see on the screen, in a neutral tone, in an angry tone, in a sad tone, and in a happy tone. So who's gonna volunteer? Who wants to read it in a Laura? You want to read it in a neutral tone?
You know, I think I might want to challenge myself because I'm usually happy and like what do you call it? A neutral person. Maybe I should do the angry voice.
Okay, so Laura can do angry. Who wants to do neutral? Who would like to do neutral?
I can do neutral.
Claudia, you do neutral. Laura, angry, sad.
I can try. I can do the.
I can do sad.
Okay, then I'll do the happy.
Okay, so Victoria, sad, and Aisatu, happy. I think I finally got the pronunciation of your name right.
Yes, you did.
And so you do happy. Okay, so let's go one after the other. No, not one after the other, one at a time, and then we can comment.
Okay, so I read only the first part or read the whole thing?
No,
First part
no, just the first
Exactly,
three lines, yeah.
Let the light of late afternoon shine through chinks in the barn, moving up the bales as the sun moves down.
Okay. Was that neutral to most of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Came out pretty neutral. What can she do to improve that, though? There's something I think she could do. You're reading a poem. Remember that. What could Claudia have done to improve that a little bit?
Read it a bit slower.
Yes,
Slower, yeah.
slower. And that would also give you, especially for the others there, more of an opportunity to read it in the way we were asking you to read it. You don't have to, but do you want to read it again, Claudia?
Yeah, I can read again. Okay. So, let the light of late afternoon shine through chinks in the barn, moving up the bales as the sun moves down.
Okay, thinks that's better. Okay, angry? Who was doing angry?
It was me. I'm trying to think about my angry voice.
Okay, no, take your time, take your time.
Okay, let me try. Let the cricket take chaffing as a woman takes her needles and her yarn. Let evening come.
What do you think about that?
I could have had a bit more grudge in my voice, but
It sounded more neutral.
I think the voice should have been deeper.
Yeah, let's do it again. You mind doing it again?
And align your facial expression because you were also smiling all the time, which doesn't make you sound very.
okay, I'll try again. This is good acting skills.
Can you see it?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, I wanted to see your facial expression, so I stopped sharing. Hold on a second. Here we go.
Let the cricket take up chaffing as a woman takes up her needle and her yarn. Let evening come.
How was that? Little better, no?
Yeah, little better, but it
Yeah,
could be, I
yeah.
think the voice could have been more fierce, but
Forceful?
better than the first one.
Especially that last sentence, let evening come. I think that you can really, let evening come. Okay, sad. Take your time.
Okay. Let dew collect on the hoe abandoned in long grass. Let the stars appear and the moon disclose her silver horn.
How was that?
It was more neutral than sad.
I got a little bit of sad. I got a little bit of sad. Certainly was not happy. You want to do it again?
Yeah, sure. Let dew collect on the hoe abandoned in long grass. Let the stars appear and the moon disclose her silver horn.
Okay. Again, I think that reading it slower would have helped you in making it sadder. Okay, this is, you know, poems are made to be read slowly anyway, most of the time, I would think. Okay, happy?
Let the fox go back to its sandy den. Let the wind die down. Let the shed go black inside. Let evening come.
Any comments?
I thought that was sad.
Oh,
Yeah, well, it was, I don't know if it was sad, but it was not very happy. Put yourself in a happy place. You know, that's an actor's secret as well. Put yourself, if you, well, read it again and then I'll tell you.
let the fox go back to its sandy den. Let the wind die down. Let the ship go back inside. Let evening come.
Any comments on that? I got a little bit of.
That was an amazing sad.
Yeah,
Sounds a bit sad.
it was very melancholy. It was very melancholy.
Melancholic and sad.
Anyway,
I
thank you.
think
I'll give you a little.
we should have swapped roles.
I
give you
think
a little bit of a-
Aisatu and Victoria should have switched.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with personality. I'll give you an actor's tip. There's something called the actor's secret. And that is actors, you know, they're told they have to play different roles, whatever it might be. So if you are told that in this scene you have to be very joyful or happy, you think of something. You don't tell anybody about this, but you think of something that makes you happy. For example, if you really, really, really like chocolate cake, and that makes you, it brings out in you a sense of joy, happiness, think of chocolate cake when you are playing the scene, and that will help you. Of course, it takes a lot of practice and all of that, but it's called the actor's secret in acting in order to help get into the mood. 15, what do we have? Okay. Let's take a break. I'll eat some honey. I'll eat some honey during this break and see what happens. What about 10, 12 minutes? Okay. Unless somebody wants to say something, no? We're okay. We'll keep it. All right. Hello, hello, hello. We are back. Everybody ready? We are back, 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 back. I see only Laura. Aisatu, Gloria, Victoria. Okay. Here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about stagecraft. We talked a little bit before about moving around on the stage. Go over this relatively quickly. So, you know, from the ancient Greeks come our happy and sad faces. The positive face normally is normally from stage left, the negative from stage right. Some of this stuff can get a little bit complicated. We're going to try to simplify it. Remember, you are the most important visual aid, so don't hide behind the lantern. There really is nothing worse than hiding behind that lantern and not moving. And today, the technology, the portable microphones, the clickers, and all of that, they really allow you to just move around, make it much more, make it much more lively. So we're going to anchor this in Spain in space. There are basically, you can have 3 points on the stage. You should start in the center and then move to point 1, for example, and then move to point 2 or 3, as it says here. Here you are, start in the center and move from one point to the other. What you need to avoid, and we see this a lot in the technology people, Apple and Facebook, when they give their annual results presentations, they make a big deal out of it. They're in this big theater, and the chief executive officer is there, and there's the huge screen behind for the PowerPoint, and they're moving on the stage from one side to the other, and that's really terrible. I don't know if you've ever seen these. I don't know where this idea came from. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it's just it makes people dizzy. It's too much. You should move around that stage, but in control of yourself, in control of your body, walking slowly. You don't have to run around like some chicken without his head off, as we used to say. And a lot of these presentations, if you look at them on YouTube, you'll see that and they get very excited, and they're in their shirt sleeves and all that. And I think the whole thing is exhausting. And I think it's exhausting for the audience. Now, one of the things you can do with this, which is a little bit complicated, you need some experience. You can talk about one theme on point 1, for example, then go to point back to the center and talk about another theme on point 3. And when there are questions, you can move to the point of the stage that is relevant to that theme, that the question is relevant to that theme. It's a little bit complicated. You don't need to really worry about it too much, but But my main point here is be in control of your body, move around, but this is not a race. And this will also give people the sense that you are in control of yourself, that you are confident, that you're not nervous, that you're controlling time as well. You're just being very moving in a normal way instead of running all over the place. There are some physiological things about. I really don't want to get into it at the moment. You probably know all of this anyway, about when you have a high blood sugar or your respiration is a little bit too fast. The adrenaline is going up and the temperature is going up. Respiration, you can do some exercises that will help you calm down, breathing exercises, and also some exercises that will help remove some of the tics especially in your face. A lot of people have nervousness and tenseness tends to show very frequently in the face or in the feet or the hands. If you look at yourself and you see, oh, I have a habit of twitching in a certain part, or the most horrible one of all is taking your tongue out because your mouth is dry. And that is really bad. It really gives you it's very vulgar, and it gives you a very bad image. That one way of resolving that is by taking little sips of water. There's no problem. There's no having a little bit of water and taking a little sip is just fine. I hesitate to show this on video, but there is an exercise that I like and is very efficient, even though people think it's a big joke. It isn't. And that is to take the fingers of your hands a few minutes before you go on stage, and and you can do it if you want, very quickly but very lightly move them all over your face like that, and over your head like that. You do this for a few minutes, and trust me, it will relax you. I think it feels good. I don't know what you think, but I think it feels very good. And it will help eliminate a lot of tics. It gets a little blood running in your little veins in the head, in the face. And it will really relax you. It really will relax you. I think it feels particularly good when you do it up here. Very, very quickly, but very, very slightly. And this will eliminate a lot of tics, in addition to making you feel very relaxed. I don't know if you did it for a few seconds, if you feel that I feel a little bit more relaxed now that I was 2 minutes ago. And then there are breathing exercises that you can do, but we can't get into those on a video presentation. So let's talk a little bit about the script and structure of the script. Basically, there are 5 elements to a script. The introduction, the 3 themes, and the closing. So the introduction is, who are you? Obviously, you're going to introduce yourself. Obviously, you're not if you've been introduced. But again, people want to know who is speaking with them and what is the credibility of this person to talk about this subject. This is very important, and this has to be established right away. It's going to give you the credibility that you need. Another thing you can do if you have already been introduced, for example, is to use a teaser here. My teaser about Joe Biden was not elected president of the United States last night. Something that is going to immediately grab people's attention. Because at the beginning, people are not paying that much attention. They may be on their phones, whatever. Something that is going to grab their attention. Another thing you can do is to tell a little story. I have a little story that is relevant to public speaking that involves a lion and a gladiator. It's a little story that I start telling, and people are going to say, "Oh, okay, well, this is interesting. Where is this person going with this little story?" And if the story is a nice story, not very long, but relevant to the theme, that's a very good way of beginning presentation. Then you can say, "I'm going to talk to you about theme 1, theme 2, theme 3, and then I'll be happy to take questions, whatever." One thing that you can also use is humor, but humor is a very dangerous weapon. And you have to really be very careful with it. This is where cultural nuances come in. Remember, we talked about cultural nuances at the beginning on Monday. Remember that humor can be very offensive to some people. And this is particularly the case now over the last 4 or 5 years. In the past, there were things you could say, there were jokes you could make that you just can't make them anymore because people get offended. I think a little bit too much, but that's the way it is. So be very careful with humor if you're planning on using them, and if you're planning on using some sort of a joke or something like that. And then, of course, you have your closing statements before going to questions. So you can do a teaser. Again, careful with humor. It could be a dramatic visual. It could be a controversial statement. Again, it could be a provocative question. So that's another one of our linguistic mechanisms. Remember that. Rhetorical questions that you're going to answer could be a quote. Very frequently, you can start a presentation with a quote, again, that is relevant, another linguistic mechanism. Or you can do a story, the story of the lion and the gladiator, that I will, maybe if we have time, tell you, which I use to illustrate the fact that most people are extremely scared of speaking in public. So on Friday, tomorrow, when you make your presentations, when you come and make a PowerPoint presentation, assume that you have been introduced. You don't have to introduce yourself, right? I will ask you what is your strategic objective, and I will ask you what is your strategic message, and then you go to your presentation. So the introduction, you're going to also say, what are you trying to do? What is your objective? Be out front with it. You can maybe also specify how long it will take. This kind of helps the audience focus. I am going to speak with you about A, B, and C for about 20 minutes, and then we'll go to questions. Again, the audience now knows where they stand, more or less. They may be more attentive. We're not going to be here for 4.5 hours. What are your vital points? And as we saw with Message House, remember the strategic objective, and this really applies to you at the World Food Program, is what do you want me to do? You're telling me this. What do you want me to think? Or what, more importantly, what do you want me to do? So those are the in the script, that's what we basically divided into: introduction, theme 1, theme 2, theme 3, and the close. Yes, Claudia.
Yeah, I would wanted to just say an observation in WFP. I feel we have a lot of presentations that don't say what we want people to do with them. Like if I think of some of the meetings we have, people present very interesting, like insightful things or research or ideas or something, but it's not clear, is it for reflection, is it for action, is it for comment? So I feel that's something that is often lacking. So how do you make that clear? Or like if you're maybe also open to different things, like you want to maybe in the meeting discuss, but then you want people to take it home, think about it and start implementing, like how do you have any tips on how to make it actionable?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is my goal with this audience? My goal with you is to hopefully give you information and tips and exercises, tools to make you a more efficient public speaker and presenter. That's what I'm trying to do over a course of a week with you. So what are you trying to do? Why are you there? If you cannot answer that question, then there's a problem. You have to know what your goal is. In some cases, it's quite easy. You want donors to give you $3 million for this particular project. In other cases, if it's just an informational meeting, well, that's okay, but you must want them to do something with that information. There's always something that you want these people to do. Otherwise, we're just having another meeting that is really not going to go anywhere. Or maybe you're trying to teach people a new method of using a new application in the World Food Program computer. Maybe the World Food Program has changed. I think they did this in South America when I was there in February. They had a seminar because they had established a new way of communicating between various offices in South America. I mean, whatever it is, there must be some reason why you are doing this. I hope that's clear. Let me see. I'm going to. Okay, we just want to do the. I want to show you again the strategic objective, the Message House. What I want you to do this. This is my strategic message. Here are my themes with information, stories, and examples for each. You don't have to do all three for each theme. It's very possible to do information for theme 1, stories for theme 2, examples for theme 3. Examples, concrete examples, and stories are very important because they speak to people. They speak to people. So keep that in mind. If you have good examples and good stories, that is really very, very important. And at the end, briefly summarize each of the 3 vital points. You can restate your aim, and you can come back, if possible, to your teaser. It's called circular storytelling. This is a tactic. This is a tool that is very frequently used in journalism, very frequently. You start at point A and you have a circle and you end at point A. So I start my story with a gardener, then I go through my story. I'm going to end it with the gardener. Hollywood uses this. Novelists use this. It's a very, it's a very, very good thing to do. Now, I want to do something that I think is very important and that hopefully is going to help you a great deal in doing the presentations tomorrow. Let me just get it. And this is what we call the Freetown example. I have to go search for it. This is what we call the Freetown example. And nope, not that just now. Give me a second here. And this is what you want. This is the kind of thing that we are looking for in the presentation. Just give me a second. I've got to get it. Apologies. Sometimes I don't know where these things are. Okay. Now I'm going to share. Yeah, I have to. Who's asking me if I can clarify? I'm sorry about that. Is it Claudia or somebody's asking me to clarify what I mean by the gardener?
Yes, it's Laura, it's me.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry that I wasn't very clear about that. I wrote a story, fair amount, some years ago about the terrible economic problems that Zimbabwe was going through. And I wrote the story for a news magazine, and I began the story with the example of a gardener and what he was going through, how inflation was affecting him and his family. I then went on to, and I quoted him and briefly told his story. It began with, that's what we call in journalism a lead. And then I went on to talk about the situation in Zimbabwe, the catastrophic economic situation in Zimbabwe, the unemployment, the inflation especially, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I ended the story. I went back to the gardener. That's what I meant. That's what we mean when we talk about ending the when we talk about the teaser, circular storytelling. You start and end at the same place. It's like a circle that you do. I start here with the gardener, then I go around. The story was not about the gardener, it was not about gardening, but it was about the economic situation. I'm using him as an example. It's much more effective than beginning my story by saying inflation in Zimbabwe is 10,000% a month, which it was. That's pretty dramatic, 10,000% a month, but you really can't relate to that. Whereas if this gardener happened to be a gardener, is telling you, this is what's happening to me and my family because of inflation, that's much more effective. Is that clearer? It's an excellent tactic to use. It is an excellent tactic to use. And as I say, in maybe not in hot news, breaking news journalism, but anything that is more in-depth reporting or color reporting, even on the day's events, will more than likely use that circular storytelling tactic. And certainly Hollywood does it, novelists do it. It makes a very clean hole in your storytelling. Yeah, I just threw that out. Of course, I know what it means. Obviously, it's like poetry. I don't know if it's like poetry. Okay, so I'm going to give you a message house example that is an excellent example, which is why I'm doing it. I don't expect you to do this. This is much longer, but it gives you an idea of how the message house works to build your story. So, hope all of you can see this. Okay, so here we have an objective. Second, we've got a strategic objective to get donors to provide $3 million for a reforestation project in Sierra Leone. That is the objective, sorry. So the message: after a decade of forest destruction, water supplies are running dry. The next decade could see Freetown becoming a ghost town. A mere 3 million can prevent this through simple solutions. So, theme number one, what has happened? What has happened? Decade of destruction of forests. Sierra Leone is the 7th least developed country in the world. This is all true, by the way. This is not something that's made up. Guma Valley Reservoir is the only source of safe water. 4,000 hectares of trees lost in 7 years at the Guma Valley Reservoir, or an area the size of over 5,000 football pitches. Here again, we have one of our linguistic mechanisms, right? 4,000 hectares. That's probably pretty big. I have no idea. 5,000 football pitches. Okay, now I see. Now I have a better idea. So again, it's like the water tank of the 400,000 liters, one of our linguistic mechanisms. Almost 13,500 trees lost. Again, the use of numbers. There is no cover on this Guma Valley Reservoir, so you have advanced evaporation, eroded banks because there are no trees. We have evidence. World Food Program has satellite images. The tree loss accelerated in the last year, reaching 11 times the average annual rate of deforestation in the 5 preceding years. Remember the slides about how knowledge is multiplying that we showed earlier today? Those, about how students, with the students and the multiplication of knowledge, well, this is kind of the same thing. Although the reservoir is protected territory, locals have managed to encroach on it, cutting trees to roast fish, sell firewood, and build 900 houses. US 3 million is all that is needed to stop this course of events. Theme number 2, what will happen if we do nothing? Deforestation and encroachment will continue. 18,000 more trees will be lost in the next 7 years. Water levels will fail to unsustainable levels. Within 10 years, Freetown's taps will run dry. Imagine, so now we're doing maybe a little bit of emotion, maybe a little bit of you know, telling people exactly what's going to happen. Hospitals will close, schools will close. Now, a quote. Remember, that's one of our linguistic mechanisms. Thousands have lived without love, not one without water. Now, it happened in Cape Town in 2019, when the city came only 90 days away from completely shutting because of a lack of fresh water. Again, asking people to use their imaginations. If a modern city like Cape Town was driven to such extremes, what could it do to Freetown? Cape Town, Freetown, Ghost Town. What is that? That is what we did yesterday in the apple and orange exercise. It's a phrase to attract attention. It's the word is escaping me. Obviously, it's something to grab you. Something that you can begin a speech with or a presentation with.
A souffle. I found it in my notes.
It's not the souffle. It's the the souffle. It's the teaser. It's the teaser. But the souffle example was a teaser word I couldn't. But in a way, you're right. Cape Town, Freetown, Ghost Town, right? Or the using the words that sound the same or begin with the same letter. Remember that mechanism. And now 3 million. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing repetition. So now theme number 3. What we can do with your help. We have a plan, okay? I'm asking for $3 million. People are gonna want to know what we're gonna do with that. We have a plan. We're going to employ youth to be among 120 monitors. So already we're going to be putting youth to work. Youth and women will be targeted as key change agents. We're going to reforest the valley with 10,000 native trees. We're going to hire 50 security guards to stop encroachment. We're going to have educational programs. We're going to have local consultation forums with the local population to inform them, to teach them about the danger. We're going to work with the government because we need to get some people out of that valley. We're going to work also to draw lessons from how in other areas deforestation has been successfully reduced. And we have 2 successful examples of this already, Peru and Tanzania. Just $3 million will help us save Freetown's sole source of fresh, clean water. Repetition. So you've got the use of linguistic mechanisms galore in this. I mean, you really do, the comparisons, et cetera, et cetera. So now we're going to, we are going to do something. We're now going to turn this into, we're gonna do a slide presentation. We're gonna do a slide presentation to go with what we've just been talking about. Hopefully all can see this. Here's the Earth. Here is a crater in Mars, desolate. Here's Freetown now, so Freetown could look like that crater, right? This is one thing that I think is a good thing to use. You have a photograph, but at the same time on your slide, you've got some keywords. This is where your keywords might come in. 4,000 hectares. That's 13,000. They're putting 420 trees because you can read it. So I think that's okay. It's a number that can be, normally we would say almost 13,500 trees, but here I think that works. So 11 times, that means 5,000 football pitches, football fields. That's the equivalent. Here's the area we're talking about. Here's the Guma Reservoir. Here's one of these hospitals that could close down if nothing is done, right? This is where the forest deforestation is taking place. Here's a graph. 43% of losses, that is doubling every 36 months. Here's Cape Town. Look at this one. Pretty dramatic. Sorry. Oops. Let's go back down. I think that's pretty dramatic. This is what can happen within 10 years in Freetown. The webbing on the spider webbing on the means that no water has come out of there in a long time. Okay, is that helpful? You see that? And when you make that presentation, obviously, you're going with showing the slides, you're going to be talking about a lot of the things that you put into your message house. Now, this presentation probably would take 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe to donors. You're asking them for $3 million, but you're really giving them a lot of information. This is the situation. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be a catastrophe if you don't help us. But if you do help us, look at all that we can do, and we can do it. We have the experience. This has happened before in Peru, in Tanzania. We're going to be hiring young people. We're going to be working with the government to get people out of that area. We're going to be hiring guards so that the cutting of trees will stop, etc., etc., etc. All of that for just $3 million. It's pretty good. Again, you can do a very much of a shortened version of this, but that's the idea. That is the idea behind the message house, which can be confusing at times. I mean, there's no question about it. Sorry, trying to get message house back up there. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. Nice. There we go.
Very helpful. I'm very curious who did the Freetown presentation.
Honestly, I don't know. We hope to get that message house.
That project will we do? I would suggest we do it before station.
What did you say? Claudia, I can't hear you.
I said we should do a project proposal with this and get some money and
yeah. No, I lived in Freetown and it looks Freetown is beautiful, has so many rivers running through it. So
Yeah. And I think you can maybe even you could make a comparison with Haiti, right? Because in
Yeah.
Port-au-Prince, there's basically no more public water supply, probably also due to similar reasons. So
Yeah.
Haiti is a case of where you end up in if you don't fix it.
Exactly. A lot of issues of the deforestation in Haiti as well. Yeah.
Sorry, after struggling through, you should have there it is. Hope you can see this. So there it is. And you saw in that Freetown message, the information, a lot of information, right? Examples. We have the example of Cape Town. We have the example of Peru. We have the example of Tanzania. We have stories there, lots and lots of information. We have the affective, the emotion. Hospitals are going to close. Schools are going to close, right? It's all there. It's all there. Anyway, so that's the Freetown example to help you with putting it together. You don't have to do this exactly. It depends on what your theme is, but that's basically the idea. Okay. Are you seeing anything? Am I sharing?
No, nothing on the
Okay.
screen.
Sorry about this. Sometimes I get myself in. Okay, so now I'm very sure that you are extremely happy about this. Should be sharing now.
Yeah.
So we're back to apples and oranges, right? So we're going to, just for a few minutes, shouldn't take very long. We're going to go to breakout rooms again. And we are going to ask you to decide on a teaser for your fruit. What is a teaser for your fruit? Freetown, Cape Town, Ghost Town, right? Should be pretty easy, I think, at this point to come up with a teaser. So in room one, we're gonna do the same people that have been in these rooms. So room one with the oranges. I don't know who's there, who isn't at this. We have Laura. Laura is
I think
there. Victoria
only
is there.
only me and Victoria today.
What's that?
It's only Victoria and I today. We're down a couple of people.
Okay.
Mm.
Just the two of you. Okay. Hold on. I don't hear Laura and Victoria.
Maybe Yannick can switch to orange.
I don't know who's in the Apple room. Was Alexandra, Claudia, Isatu, and Yannick. That's all right. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it that way. So here, so room two would be, come on, getting confused here. Okay, room one is Laura and Victoria for the orange, right? Can't get room 2 for some reason. And room 2 would be whoever is here. Janik is there, Aisatu is there, Claudia is there. Right, so you would be in room 2. But I can't get to room 2. I have room 1. Could have just done this automatically. Can you guys work in room 1? Are you able? Are you in room 1? Okay. Give me. They're going to close in a few seconds, and I'll just do this again.
Time is over? For the
Don't
break?
worry. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Just give me. Okay, now room 2 is Claudia, Aisatu, and Janik. Okay. Okay. Should be okay now. Okay. Are we ready? Who wants to go first? The orange room is just Laura and Victoria, right? Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Have you got something for us?
I think Victoria is gonna.
All right. Imagine working for WFP. You are a humanitarian worker, based in a sub office in Cameroon. You wake up in the morning, you look at the time, look at your emails, you realize how much ground you have to cover for distributions, and you're thinking, how am I going to do this in a day? You go to the kitchen, you have your orange, and you have your orange maker. You squeeze your juice, and the minute you take the first sip, everything just comes into perspective. There's sunshine, and you're suddenly energetic and ready to go, ready to do your distributions.
But you're not giving me a teaser.
That's a teaser.
No, that's an explanation of somebody drinking orange juice in Cameroon.
All right.
What a teaser is just, it's going to be this one short line that is going to make people say, oh, okay, I should listen to this. You know, something like put sunshine in you. Okay. Okay, what about the apples?
We came up with something very short and I think quite simple.
Okay.
A healthy sin, apples, sweet, neat, and complete.
Say that again.
A healthy sin, apples, sweet, neat, and complete.
Okay. A healthy thing, you're saying?
A healthy sin.
A healthy sin. See, that's pretty good. Neat.
Sweet, neat, and complete.
Okay. Sweet. Are apples sweet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would say that. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Neat, complete. That's pretty good. Why sin? Why the word sin?
Because it still plays into the part that, you know, an apple is a snack, could be a snack. So the fact that it's a positive snack per se due to the beneficial aspect of it, you know, of eating it compared to, you know, chips or you know, any sweet, sour, non-healthy snacks, you know, it's actually a healthy sin because a
Right.
snack could be, yeah.
And
It also
also the
plays into.
biblical reference. So Adam and Eve and the apple.
It also plays into Adam and Eve.
Yeah, yeah.
It plays into Adam and Eve. Right. So you're kind of turning it around, right?
Playing a bit with it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Anyway, it can be a lot of fun doing this, and it can, you know, takes a little bit of thought, but it can be fun and very useful in presentations. Okay, now let me see. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? We are at the end of. We are at the end of this. So I think everybody, you pretty much know, and if not, we'll talk about it this afternoon. 6 to 8 minute. It says absolute max, but if you want to do 7 minutes, that's okay. And then after each presentation, the group will make comments and critiques on what was this presented. Remember the using PowerPoint and Zoom in Zoom tutorials. Any comments as we orange shine like the sun? That's okay. What about an orange shines like the sun?
Still good.
Okay, but you now know what we were looking for anyway. Crave the wave of flavor with apples. I think that's a little too complicated.
That was in the very beginning when
Right.
we were trying to come up with the teaser.
Right.
And we only kept the sweet, neat, and complete part. And we took another suggestion from within the group.
Well, I think a healthy sin. I don't know what most people would imagine. I imagine Adam and Eve. So you've turned it around because it was definitely not a healthy sin in the Garden of Evil, right? So Garden of Eden, Garden of Evil. Garden of Evil sounds much more fun than the Garden of Eden. Okay, no, that's the thing. You come up with something, then you cut it, you reduce it, another idea comes up. It's what advertising people do, and some of them are really quite original. Okay, any questions? I just want to make sure that we understand each other for this afternoon. So 1 o'clock GMT, Laura 1:30, Isa 2 o'clock, Victoria, and then the rest. That is on the anything.
Should we be expecting to have our presentation for the one-on-one, or?
You should have, the ideal would be for you to have, a rough draft of that presentation with slides and with what you're going to say, your strategic objective really well defined, your strategic message well defined, and then we will talk about it and we will improve it if you can do that. If you can't come up with slides now, you're going to have to do it between now and tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of people were missing, right? Who's you said that Alexandra is sick, is that right?
Yeah, she's sick. She's submitted sick leave.
Okay. Who else is missing?
Balamin and Anna.
Balamin, I think he told me was going to have problems. And who else?
Anna, Balamin, Tanimoon.
Yeah, okay. Are they in meetings or something like that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks a lot.
I think there is one more, Ibrahima. He was in the field beginning of the week. I don't know, Yannick, if you know if he's still in the field. I can check if he's here.
So Ibrahima has been on the field the entire week, hence why it's been even complicated for him to really participate in the course in itself. They should be returning today, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of the day. If not tomorrow, I would have to check.
Okay, well, that happens. Okay, well, I'll let you go. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed
before
it.
we go,
Thank you very much.
Eduardo,
What?
before you go, did you say 2 o'clock for me? I think I thought it was 1:30.
It is 1:30.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Victoria is 2 o'clock.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
And we're talking about GMT.
Thank you, bye.
Bye-bye.